Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Black Tower Show. We're back. Broadcasting 1310 WRSB, 1590 WASB, Brockport, Canandaigua, Rochester, Buffalo, all upstate New York. And it's cold outside, and it's gray, and people are kind of slouched a little bit more now. Do you notice that, Jake? A little bit more slouching going out in the streets, a little more sadness. But we got work to do. And what an honor. It's an honor to have John McAfee in the Black Tower Show. Okay? If you're reading the news, if you've been following what's going on, I got a little article right here. House Republicans wanted John McAfee's advice on Obamacare. John McAfee, the wild child. Are you sick of being referred to as the wild child at this point? You're the wild guy now?
Well, you know, whatever label the press wants to apply to me, they will change it in a couple of months, so it doesn't particularly matter.
Well, the press is completely corrupt and bought out, big majorities of it. CNN, we've had people who have worked at CNN just openly saying that they're taking orders from the government and writing things a certain way. However, let me not get
Well, you know, I refuse to do CNN interviews anymore after the Dateline show. I told them I would not interview with them again, and I've had over 30 requests since then begging for interviews, and I just don't do it. They're off my list. So, but you're right; it's a corrupt organization.
So let me introduce John McAfee. Okay, McAfee I mean, you don't even need the introduction. McAfee antivirus. Of course, you haven't been involved with that for 19 years now, but you've been busy at work now. Is this true? First off, did they approach you for advice on Obamacare?
Yeah, absolutely. A gentleman named Sean Hayes, who is the attorney for the House Committee on Energy and Commerce. I don't know why that specific committee has oversight for Obamacare, but apparently it does. Approached me on behalf of the committee and asked if I would come to Washington and talk to the committee and advise them on how to address this problem child. I had already openly on radio shows and television said that it cannot be fixed. I've looked very deep into the architecture and the issues, and it simply can't be fixed. The architecture will not support what they're trying to do. Meaning you have to scrap it and start over. Now, that doesn't mean they have to spend another $100 million, but they do have to abandon what they've done. They're not going to do that. And when they finally said, well, can we have a telephone conversation about it? I'm thinking, what absurdity. Now, how am I going to show charts and graphs and things over a telephone? They're not serious. They're not going to implement anything that I suggest. I'm 68 years old. I don't have time to waste my time, so I said, screw it.
What do you think about just the overall idea of Obamacare? First off, I mean, kind of making it mandatory for people to have it. Are we moving? Is our country moving in this kind of strange direction? Is it starting to get weird, infringing on people's personal liberties and whatnot?
Well, you know, I think when people like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington first envisioned this country, I do not think they envisioned a government which mandated anything. Yeah. Wasn't it up to us people to mandate to the government? Wasn't that what was supposed to happen? We didn't create the government to tell us what to do, to tell us how to act. We created it to build roads and schools and solve the problems that we as individuals cannot solve. We didn't do it so that we needed a separate mother and father to keep watch over us and put restrictions on us. And yet that's what the government has become. More and more so every year.
We're talking to John McAfee on the Black Tower Show. I always tell people it's kind of like the Oedipus complex there, where you have the kind of the overprotective mother watching over its people. And it seems like so much evil is being done in the name of people's safety. And how safe we are now, Jake. Oh my gosh, it is so safe because they're watching everything that we're doing, making sure that all the bad people are not involved.
Despite the fact that the NSA has never, really proven to catch a terrorist, the TSA has never caught a terrorist. None of these things have been proven out yet. We're told we're safer because of them, and the government loves us.
But isn't this really part our own responsibility? We vote these people in. We put up with it. When they came out and said, we're going to have a Department of Homeland Security, and we're going to have all these rules and regulations, this is America. We could have gone and done a recall those people, get them back and put new people in there. We have that power. I think it's our own indifference. I'm not talking about you, me, but as a general society, it's our indifference and our willingness to allow others to make our decisions which cause this mess. So we can't blame government. Government is composed of individuals just like us, but we are greedy people. We are fearful people as a group, and those qualities will end up in government because government is made up of people.
Greedy. Yeah. Well, that leads me to Decentral, okay? I'm reading this article. You're out there. You're promoting this device. Says here, costs less than $100. What will it do for people? Will allow them to not be tracked, not be seen? What is this piece of necessary machinery that our show is going to need in the future, because they're not going to like what we're saying?
Well, here's the issue. The device is desperately needed, and it basically allows electronic communications, which is private, completely private. Everything is encrypted using a technique that the NSA was not involved in. All of the transmissions and receipts are private. No one knows what message is going to what person, because it's all coded. And we need it. However, I'm beginning to think that with the paranoia within the government, and by the way, it's not just the NSA. Do you think that the CIA, the FBI, and all of the 15 covert agencies are not doing the same thing? Of course they are. It's not just that. It's people like the music industry, with their own fear of people stealing their music, that I'm afraid will not allow this thing to happen here in America, that I'll have to sell this overseas. Because the music industry has already called it a dangerous idea that will be used for ill good. So it's a telephone. People use the telephone to steal things. That doesn't mean that we should not have telephones. There's risk in everything, but privacy certainly must be the supreme.
Well, it's like people say, I have nothing to hide, but I mean, do you want someone watching you while you lay in bed with your wife? No, you don't want that. And we shouldn't have to put up with this type of paranoia where, you're wondering if you leave your laptop open, is someone watching you in your own bedroom, in the privacy of your own home? We just saw Miss Teen USA. She got hacked, and they they threatened her with a bribe, they threatened her with exposing her pictures online if they didn't if she didn't pay them off to go away. This is the world we live in, and we shouldn't have to live in this. We need protections against it. Like decentralized. We need a stronger Tor network. The .onion, DeepNet sites. But I don't know. I just don't feel like it's moving fast enough to combat with the speed and the funding that the government has against us.
Yeah, the fight is on, it seems.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of you don't have anything to hide. That's not the issue. It's not whether you have something to hide or not. It's whether you have the right to your own privacy. If, in fact, you don't want the world watching you and your wife in bed, then that's your right to have that in private. If you have a communication that you're talking to a friend about something serious and deep that you would not want the world to know, it doesn't mean that you have something to hide. It simply means that you have the right to do that. And if we lose that right, we lose our basic humanity. And it's not that what we want to keep secret is wrong. It's simply that we're not judged if it's secret. No matter what you want to do or say, there will be someone who doesn't want you to do or say that. If you don't have the right to privacy, then we all become one gray mass, like the communist Chinese in the 30s. We wear the same thing, we walk the same way, we all look alike. That doesn't interest me.
Yeah, well, it does seem that the new generation, it does seem like younger kids now, privacy isn't, they don't really fully understand, it seems, how important it actually is. That right to privacy doesn't seem so urgent for people when you talk about it now. It's accepted now that the government is watching. We want them there. We want the government seeing what we're doing. We want that protection there. So, You're trying to help people understand that's an actual right that they have, and they don't fully understand it. And we're moving kind of deeper into that hole, it seems.
Well, they do understand it on some level. You know for a fact that there are many secrets that young kids keep. I mean, they don't want their parents knowing exactly what they're doing at midnight with their car. They don't want the principal of the school knowing things. So, trust me, they have their secrets. It's just that they're not thinking this through. They're thinking that the government is some objective entity that merely is observing like a computer might observe, and there's no harm in it. But it's not the case. It's actually human eyes watching. And these human eyes have their own perspective on life and their own ideas about what is right and what is wrong. I don't want someone else judging what's right or wrong for me. I want to be able to determine that for myself. So this is the issue they're not thinking through. They know for a fact they have secrets and they want to keep those secrets. But they believe that the government is somehow a different entity that's not like their parents who are going to punish them for doing something wrong. The government is far worse.
Yeah. We're talking to John McAfee on the Black Tower Show. Let's talk about when you do. First of all, go to whoisjohnmcafee.com and you'll find all of this.
No, it says whoismcafee.com. No, John, just whoismcafee.com.
Go to whoismcafee.com. Of course, you're renowned for being on the lam. You're in Belize. You're being framed by what is a very, very corrupt government that is going on there. If you go to whoismcafee.com, you're posting information for people to see just what exactly is going on in Belize. Now, and I know that you've talked about this story so much, but can you tell our listeners, because there's listeners out there that don't know the story, what happened there? Sum it up and just tell us how corrupt is Belize, and what are you still combating this thing that's going on there?
Well, yeah, I am still combating it. So what happened in Belize is my own fault. I left the safety of San Pedro Island, which is where all the Americans go, where they have their homes, all the tourists go. It's like a little America, even though it's in the country of Belize. And I moved into the deep jungle of the interior to do research on native plants. Well, when I did that, I moved into the backyards of the most powerful people in Belize, the drug lords. And by the way, the entire ministry is made up of crooks. They're all thieves and drug dealers and what have you. That's just the way it works down there. The powerful people take control, and the thieves are the most powerful people. So anyhow, I moved into their backyards, and after I was there for a year, they came to me and asked what they would ask any Belizean. Give us a donation. You're a rich man. You're in our territory. Give us $2 million. In return, we'll give you millions of acres of land. Well, I don't need land. What am I going to do with it? And I said no. A week later, 42 armed soldiers stormed my compound, shot my dog, did $500,000 worth of damage, handcuffed me in the sun for 14 hours, and then left. And that was it. So a week later, they came back and said, "Have you reconsidered your donation?" I said, "Absolutely not. Get the F off my property." And then I went to the international press. I also did something very stupid. I gave a bunch of computers to the ministry, because after that I was pissed off, mostly because they shot my dog. I mean, steal my money, but you don't shoot my dog. So I was pissed. So I bought about 50 computers, laptops, cheaply. I got them off of Amazon, and I loaded them with keystroke logging software that called home me. I handed it to all the ministers and minister secretaries, and I started watching what they were doing. And you talked about turning the microphone on or the camera on. That's trivial. And for me, I've been in security my whole life. That's what I did. So I started gathering information, and it was horrifying. I discovered that the Minister of National Security was making millions of dollars a year selling fake passports. Not fake, they were real, but they were selling passports for $100,000 each to anyone who wanted to buy one. The Koreans, the Chinese, Hezbollah, the Lebanese, he didn't care. I discovered that most of the ministers were involved in some aspect of drug dealing or other, and so they eventually, unfortunately, found out about this and came after me. At first, and by the way, I had since moved back to the safety of San Pedro, the American part of Belize, and they started coming after me at night. This is the absolute truth. But since they didn't know how I was getting my information, I always knew in advance when they were coming, and I just got out of the way. And this went on for a couple of months until my neighbor was killed. Now, whether they killed him as a way to collect me or not, I do not know, but I had nothing to do with it. I did, however, keep tabs and saw that the Minister of National Security had ordered my arrest. From that point, I went underground, and I was underground for a month and a half until I escaped into Guatemala. Was jailed in Guatemala for entering illegally. I hired the Attorney General of the country of Guatemala as my lawyer, and then got back here to America. That's the story.
They shot your dog, man. That is just low, man. I'm trying.
Well, I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, my dog. I mean, that was a vendetta.
Oh yeah,
that you went after.
Well, come on. I don't know if you like dogs or not. If you have a dog, so somebody shoots your dog.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, that's some serious stuff. I'm sorry, I don't forgive that. I do not forgive that.
So corrupt, they're selling passports.
It's extremely. Selling passports, dealing drugs, human trafficking. Good Lord, it is the human trafficking capital of the world.
So do you still live there, or do you still...
Good Lord, no. I mean, I can't go back. If I go back, I'm going to be arrested as not as a murder suspect. They never charged me for murder. They merely wanted to question me. In Belize, you can question someone for up to 60 days without charges. If you're unsatisfied with the answers, you can renew it for another 60 days indefinitely.
That's important, too. I mean, you were never charged, too. I mean,
never charged. How could they possibly charge me? I mean, they couldn't. It's impossible. But no. But they questioned. They questioned all the neighbors. I was a neighbor. They wanted to question me. I knew what was coming down. I heard. I mean, I was hearing and watching this on my computer. They didn't know until after I left, and I disclosed on my blog that all those computers that they were happily using of mine were watching them and listening to them.
But you had to do some improvising to get yourself out of some sticky situations now.
Well, you do what you have to do.
You do. You got to survive. John McAfee on the Black Tower Show talking about decentral. That's something. I mean, do we have a launch date? Do we have a time where people are able to get this?
We'll have a prototype in 6 months that will demonstrate the proof of concept. And within a year, we will have a unit that we can sell. It's a very simple device, really. It doesn't have a screen on it. It's just a small box about half the size of your cell phone that communicates with your cell phone. And we have an app on the cell phone that basically turns your smartphone into not just an internet communicator, but on the other side, will also communicate over the secure private network, which is a localized, fluid network. So it's a very simple device. It's going to be fairly easy to build. I don't know why people didn't think of this before, but they didn't. And I think it's going to be useful. However, whether or not I will be able to sell it in this country, well, that's questionable. I'm getting more questionable all the time. I think the more that I say against the NSA, and I think I was the first one to say, well, wait a minute, we're looking at the NSA. Do you realize there are 15 covert agencies within the government? Do you think only one of them is choosing to spy on us? Get real. So, because of things like that, I'm afraid that they may even not allow me to leave my house, let alone manufacture this device. So anyway, there we have it.
Do you have contingency plans in case you get blowback from our government?
Here's the difference between our government and the government of Belize. There is no real law in Belize, and in spite of the flaws of the American government, it is still the government of the people. If we wanted to, we could throw everybody in Washington out. You know this. There are measures that the Founding Fathers placed into the Constitution for doing that. We just don't have the balls to do it. So, this is still America. They're not going to come and shoot me in the head, I don't think. I haven't done anything that bad. I mean, not that they wouldn't. Or send a drone over my house. But they do send the IRS out to audit people.
Well, they're going to ask you to work for them, They're going to bring you into the family,
Well, I'm not going to do that, I'm not. I can't be turned at this age. I couldn't even be turned at a younger age, but I can guarantee you at this age I can. It's not going to happen.
Man, the stories that you have, it's outstanding. And I do have to mention this video that you made. How to uninstall McAfee antivirus.
Classic.
This is legendary.
Yeah.
I mean, what it says to me, I mean, if you don't know anything about John McAfee, you watch his video, you got a great sense of humor, and you're a great actor, and, you know, you wouldn't have known that. John McAfee, why did you put that video out there? Because that is pretty ballsy.
Well, it was like the media had already demonized me. Mm-hmm. They had called me paranoid, so I did that paranoid rant for them in the video, with the white powder all over my face like I'd planted my face in it. They claimed I was a womanizer, so I surrounded myself with a bunch of women. They always say, he likes guns and carries them surrounded by guns, so I had guns everywhere on the thing. Right. I was merely trying to, if that's what they call me, then here, I'll play that up for you. And at the same time, make fun of myself, because if you can't make fun of yourself, what's the point of living? So that's why I did it.
But it works. I mean, you're doing this talk. I was just reading this article today when you did the talk at C2SV, and
right.
It's definitely a younger crowd there. And I mean, you are seen as, you're a figure of influence, and people respect you, and then they want to know what you're involved in, what's going on. And America we love the story here, and we do love the drama. And unfortunately, the news there's no more news anymore. It's all that drama.
That's correct. It's all drama.
Yeah, it's all
and
drama.
The second thing is, I think one of the things that is not unique about me, but one of the things I always try to do is, I'm just pretty honest with who I am and what I've done. At C2SV, they asked, have you ever done drugs? And I said, well, yeah, I've done more drugs than you can all collectively carry.
Yeah.
But that was in the past, and I've done many things that maybe I should be ashamed of, but I don't mind telling people because they happened. It's what happened. So maybe people find that refreshing.
Yeah,
I find it really useful, because to try to juggle lies, especially at my age, my brain just can't do it anymore.
No, those are the kind of attributes we need for the next CEO, Microsoft. You know what I mean? I heard you talking about that on Alex Jones.
I was kind of shocked about that. When the Tech Week did their survey, I think Tech Week was shocked too. They threw my name in, sort of, why not? And I got 27% of the vote, 4 percentage points more than Bill Gates, and it's like, that shocked me. It made me think the world had gone crazy.
Come on, spice it up a little bit.
Just like when Congress approached me to come to Congress, I thought, well, I do know what I'm doing technically, but my God, this would be a PR nightmare for them. I mean, I would not have, if I was worried about PR, I would not have contacted me. And the blowback from the left has been predictable. They say, oh my God, Congress has asked this madman, John McAfee, to come and solve their issues. I could have predicted that. Why did they call me, of all people? Jesus, who are these people? But in any case, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, what you're going to bring to the table, I think you alluded this in the Alex Jones interview too, is that, you're going to say, let's burn the whole thing down and start from scratch.
Right.
You're never going to be able to. That's never going to fly, because
that's like political suicide, Joe. No, they're not going to do that. What they're going to do is they're going to realize that it can't be fixed, but they're going to pretend that it can and keep it going until Obama leaves office and leave the problem for the next president. This is how it works in Washington. So I saw that and I go, I'm not wasting my time talking to you people. I'm just not going to do it. I've got better things to do.
Yeah.
See, the beauty of America's apathetic stupidity is, with the 24-hour news cycle, John, you can go from being a violent, druggy womanizer on Monday to a hero on Friday, depending on how you position yourself. So,
right, and back to a druggie on the next Monday, and this is how it works. So I don't pay much attention. But I know that they're going to love me one moment and hate me the next, and I'm just keep slogging along, trying to do the best I can.
Well, I like it, John McAfee. I like the truth, man. It could be Sanford. Well, we don't want that guy. As far as I'm concerned, he's done worse stuff than anybody. We know.
Yeah, we do know. Well, I appreciate that. I don't get a lot of that, by the way. Mostly I get, good God, what is wrong with you, man? You know, don't you have enough common sense to shut up about your past? Like, oh, okay, whatever. So, but I appreciate what you just said. I'm very grateful.
Well, as Hunter S. Thompson said, the worm has turned. I feel in our.
Oh country. No, there's someone I truly admire. Oh, if only because he took the state of the art and goes, you know, there's got to be a better way to do this shit. And we're talking about reporting. And invented gonzo journalism, which, thank God, at least made journalism interesting at that point.
Well, back when Rolling Stone actually had stuff that was worth reading. Of course, well, I think it has gone back to that now. Though.
Yeah,
definitely.
Matt Taibbi and the late Michael Hastings.
Rolling Stones there's a resurgence, definitely, but, you know.
Yeah, there is, you know, and don't diss them too much. I mean, given the culture of the climate in which they were trying to make money, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But Rolling Stone is one of my favorite publications, so. I've always followed them.
John,
but you're right, it's coming back.
John McAfee, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and we'd love to talk to you again in the future. I know you're a busy man, but we'd love to get in contact and have the update, talk about Decentral and on and on. Thank you so much. Sir. All right, you take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.